Welcome to another episode of the Chicago Business Review. I am your host, Young Lee, and today we have a special guest. We have the CEO of LIX Brands or LIX Ingredients. They are a special company that specializes in taking active ingredients and making them more water-soluble, bioavailable, and fast-acting with their proprietary technology. I'm so excited to share more of what Dan and his company are doing. So Dan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me on.
It's my pleasure. So I know we were chatting a little bit before we got on, but for the listeners, can you tell us a little bit more about what LIX does and what you guys specialize in?
So the bottom line is LIX makes everything better. That's our tagline, and because it's mostly true. So we take active ingredients, like you mentioned, we make them bioavailable, we make them water soluble and fast acting. So it takes something that's difficult for your body to absorb and makes it easy to absorb. So your body absorbs more of what you're taking in, and it does it faster. We get down below the barrier of the blood-brain and blood-skin barrier. So we're about 23 nanometers particle size, which allows us, so once you put it on your skin or on any of your soft tissue, your body begins to absorb the active ingredients right away.
Okay, so I know that's very high level for some of our listeners, but let me see if I understand this correctly. So I sometimes will put in additives into a beverage or something along those lines, and yet I see it not dissolve all the way into the water or something like that. So your company does a better job of that, I'm assuming, so it dissolved completely.
Yeah. So if you encapsulate an active ingredient, it would then you took it and poured it into a bottle of water or your coffee or a beer or spirit of any choice, it becomes that liquid. So that it mixes and becomes that. So you can't separate it out from there anymore.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah. So
everybody's made Hershey's, I don't want to use a brand name. Everybody's made chocolate milk as a kid or make it for your kids. You constantly have that glass of milk and then you have to keep stirring it. Otherwise, eventually what happens is that you get the milk and the chocolate separates down to the bottom and you got to keep stirring it to get it to stay there. Ours goes into solution very easily. And once it goes into solution, you can't get it out.
Okay, so that was such a better explanation and example than what I gave. And
I get a little wordy sometimes.
I think that really helps the listeners kind of understand the technology a little bit more. Now, what would you say separates your technology versus other brands that do something similar or are trying to incorporate the same concept?
So I would say first and foremost, so we are patented, not patent pending, not, some mystical creature out there. So we're actually truly patented. We're a technology that's been around for a long time and it's just been used in different industries. But, it's been incorporated into the cannabis industry and mushrooms, also vitamins and supplements. And we're real. There's a lot of stuff that I kind of consider to be snake oil out there where people say, oh, if I take this oil and I put it through, a sonicator or put it through a high shear mixer and I chop it into all these tiny little pieces, then, it's air quotes water soluble. It's not.
Interesting.
And so what happens is you have a lot of stuff that, Just because you can't see it in the water doesn't mean that it's not going to become a big glob of oil again. And then what ends up happening is it sticks to the side of either the equipment or it sticks to the side of somebody's container in the final product. And then you run into all sorts of testing problems. You run into problems where people say, hey, I drank this product and I didn't feel anything from it.
Yeah.
Because it stuck to the inside walls of the equipment.
Okay. So then it making the results or the product more inconsistent because you don't know how much is actually going into the product versus the remnants that are sticking maybe to the machinery or the mixer or things like that.
Yeah. And so one of the things that separates us is that we don't separate.
Okay.
Our product will stay, fully dissolved in whatever beverage you choose, food you choose, cosmetics, and that becomes its new steady state. So it wants to stay there. You can try pulling it, you can try moving it, you can spin it, you can do all sorts of stuff, and it wants to stay where it is. So it's shelf stable, it's no separation or settling, and we're clean label, all natural, and in part of it being a real water soluble, we don't have to use any harsh chemicals in our process. So there's a lot of stuff out there and you use nasty things to get it to not stick to equipment or to get the equipment clean. We can use everything in our process once we incorporate the oil in. Everything from there on, we clean with water.
Really? Wow. Okay.
So you don't have to worry about the harsh solvents and things and harsh chemicals and, lingering effects of stuff. Ours is truly water soluble. So water is our cleanser.
That's incredible and just an amazingly different technology than I feel like most other companies that are trying to provide that same type of service. So, what are some products or services that would benefit from partnering with you guys?
Well, kind of like I alluded to a lot, right? There's a lot of them. So, beverages, waters, seltzers, depending on what you're putting in it, non-alcoholic beer or, spirits, mixers and things like that. We have some people that are making a simple syrup out of it. So you can have a, kind of a boosted simple syrup, things of that nature. But also, in foods and stuff. So gummies, people have used it for cooking and they incorporated it into their meals, cooking. I've got a chef that I work with in California that's done some of that to incorporate, either CBD or whatever into their meals. I've worked with some other companies for hops. And, the oils, what you're doing to hops is you're trying to get the oil out of the hop. It's very similar to a cannabis plant or a hemp plant. And so what we can do is you get that oil out, and then now we can take it and make it water soluble so it incorporates real easy into your brewing process.
That's very interesting. So it works for beverages, it works for foods. I think you had mentioned it also can work for like cosmetics. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it's truly transdermal. So it's not, people think of a topical. Well, a topical doesn't really absorb into your body. It kind of stays on that skin layer. So this is transdermal, where it will actually absorb through the skin. Most people don't think, but your skin is porous. Mm-hmm. It just has to be really small particle size and the right makeup in order for your body to absorb through your skin.
And therefore, it holds better and...
Well, it actually absorbs into the body. So if you're talking about putting like a lotion on, it'll actually absorb that lotion more into your skin. It's a carrier. So it'll make it so that a lotion, the next time you wash your hands, the lotion's not all gone. It'll help it kind of stay there.
Interesting.
But it also helps other active ingredients, even if they didn't go through the LIX process to be, encapsulated. It's a carrier. So if you mixed, just hypothetically, if you mixed hemp into LIX and made a LIX hemp, then you put that into a lotion, and that lotion had, 5 other active ingredients, arnica or peppermint oil or something like that. It actually, even though you didn't encapsulate it, it'll actually take those other 5 active ingredients, and it helps them absorb better too.
Really? Okay. So it's not just the ingredient that you guys put it through, but the other active ingredients as well, it helps absorb it in too. So that sounds like such an amazing technology. Now, why the choice to not create your own brand, or, well, of course you have LIX brand, but not choose a product to utilize it in yourself? And I believe you guys white label it. Is that correct?
We treat it like it's a bulk ingredient. And so we treat it like such, just like sugar or flour or, anything like that in those industries. Because our product or our technology works so well in so many different things, we didn't want to go down one rabbit hole and say, okay, let's take all our marketing dollars, let's take all of our energy and focus on one avenue. It allows us to then provide what I think is the best technology. Oh yeah, obviously I'm biased, but that aside, I had yet to see something out there better. And it allows us to take what we believe is the best technology and get it into the hands of people that want to create foods and beverages and cosmetics, and it gives them the best tech to, have the best chance of being successful. If they're successful, then we're successful.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. You don't want to, quote unquote, I guess, waste this technology going down one specific product line, and instead it's so beneficial for so many different things, like you were saying, beverages, foods, gummies, cosmetics, lotions even. And so why pigeonhole yourself into one? And therefore, you're doing a service to all of these other industries and helping their products and their technology improve.
Yeah.
So, that's so...
There's a lot of snake oil out there, and we are trying to put out a good quality product. I'm an engineer, and that's my background, is operations engineering. But I come from a family of salespeople, and one of the biggest things I learned from that is you build relationships. You don't try to make a sale, right? My goal is not to sell something to somebody once and make as much money as possible on that sale. My goal is to have a relationship with those people, and we both or all are having a beneficial relationship, and we have a long relationship that can continue into the future.
That's such great advice, not only for this conversation, but for anybody that's looking to grow a business or start a business or are in sales. What you just mentioned there about the difference between trying to make a sale versus building relationships, that is the lasting way to grow a business. And rising tides lift all boats. So yes, you want to try and do it together. And that's why if you guys have a product or anything that you're looking to improve upon with its ingredients, you definitely need to reach out to Dan and his staff at LIX Ingredients. You can go to their website, lixingredients.com, We'll have the information in the show notes as well. But if you have been struggling with this issue for your product, or you just want to make your food, your gummies, your products even better and provide a better product to your clients, then please reach out to Dan. You can reach him on LinkedIn and at his website, lixingredients.com. And I'm sure he'll be able to walk you through that in terms of next steps and such. So Dan, you had mentioned that you were an engineer previously. Why the massive shift to then become a CEO? You have multiple hats on. You're in a space that not a lot of people are aware of or know. Why the decision to make that transition or change?
Well, it kind of happened over the course of time. So I'm an industrial engineer by trade, right? So I've spent my career basically trying to make things better. Improving processes, improving the quality of products, improving the safety of products, making things more efficient and cost effective, those kinds of things. And so, I was working, I had a friend I worked for Amazon for a period of time. And a friend of mine that I met there, he was smarter than me. And so he left the industry, he left that company earlier than I did. And he started working in the cannabis industry. And then I was working for a medical device company after that. And they were going through some stuff. And I just kind of reached out to my buddy and was just chatting and like, do you guys need somebody to run your operations yet? And, he's like, funny you should ask. So I ran their operations for about a year and, looked at it from the standpoint of these guys were leaders in the space. They were, a large vape company. And as leaders in the space, I'm trying to do this from without swearing.
You're more than welcome to do whatever you would like. Yeah.
But as leaders in the space, they still needed a lot of help. That's the nicest way I can say.
Okay.
So then I looked at it from the standpoint of how much help does everybody else need? So I looked and I said, hey, these guys they were making 2,000 cartridges a day on 3 shifts. And inside of about 3 months doing some of my industrial engineering activities and, creating processes and procedures for things, having standardized work and stuff like that, we went from 2,000 a day on 3 shifts to 5,000 a day on 2 shifts.
Wow.
So, for them, it netted another, I think, $80,000 or $90,000 a day, depending on, what their product mix was.
Incredible.
So we looked at that and said, okay, maybe we should try to bring that to other people. And so I ended up leaving there and we started a operations consulting business. And worked primarily in the cannabis space. It was an industry I believed in. I had seen it help people around. Being in manufacturing and operations, I know this sounds weird, but the first time I ever smoked pot was on my 40th birthday.
Oh, wow.
And actually, I lie. I didn't smoke it then. I used LIX because that's the technology that Well, anyway, but it's an industry I believed in, right? I think there's a lot of, a lot of evidence out there that there's a lot less issue with the cannabis industry than there are with like the alcohol industry. Nobody ever gets too high and then, gets in a bar fight.
Yeah.
Nobody ever gets too high and then goes and beats their wife.
Yeah.
It's just not the way it works. So I believed in that industry, and I thought I can bring my skill set in and make things, make things better, bring more, better reputation to the industry, and do that. So
that totally makes sense, and that's amazing in terms of finding something that first that you're talented and skilled in, and then finding a passion that you would like to work in and trying to combine the two. And you found that here with LIX. What would you say are some other industries that could utilize LIX, a partnership with LIX to kind of grow their business? I know we have kind of talked about cannabis and such. Is there anything else, like cooking wise? Is there anything for like chefs, or is it strictly if you wanted to infuse like cannabis or THC? Or
it can work, and people have used it. Like I said, I've got a guy in California that's a chef that I I've worked with a little bit on stuff. So it can work there, but I think a kind of a bigger market is probably more the supplement space.
Gotcha.
I'd like to get into that market a little more. You kind of mentioned some experiences of people taking something and it not absorbing all the way or whatever. I would not to get too gross, but we've all taken like a B complex supplement, right? Like I think everybody that I know has taken a B complex, trying to get more energy or the B vitamin stuff. And we've all then subsequently had like neon yellow pee. Well, that's because your body's not absorbing most of that B complex.
Yes.
It's processing through and you're peeing it out.
Interesting. So even in those supplements, it's not absorbing in your body enough.
Well, they tell you're getting, 3,000% of your recommended daily allowance of it. Right. But you don't feel like you're getting 3,000% because you're not. I don't know. And different vitamins are going to have different absorption. Well, most of it is just going down into the drain, literally.
Interesting.
Flushing your money away.
And so
like that, and it makes it, help it actually get to a carrier, a delivery system where it'll actually absorb into the body.
Okay. So if I'm understanding this correctly, so quote unquote regular products or supplements, you ingest them, you drink them. How do they get into your system then? Is it through the stomach when your stomach breaks it down? And then how is your system break it down differently, or how does it absorb in the body quicker?
So it depends on what they are, but most of them, yes, they break down, in your stomach and get digested that way. What a lot of people don't think about is what vitamins absorb based on what else you have, in your stomach. Some vitamins need lipids to absorb. Some of them need waters to absorb. Some of them need, fats or not fats, I guess, but, carbohydrates to absorb. And different ones do that. And different things in your stomach can actually, have a pretty dramatic impact on what does and doesn't absorb. Our technology, most of the absorption happens prior to it hitting your stomach. So it happens if you're taking it internally, it starts once it hits your lips. So your lips, your cheeks, your gums, and then if you swallow it, it starts to absorb through your esophagus and all of that. We're in a particle size that, like I said, breaks that blood-skin barrier.
Interesting.
So we start absorbing right away. And, if you're taking it externally, if you have it and rub it on your hands or your elbow hurts and you're using it for inflammation, you rub it on your elbow and it starts to absorb through your skin.
Interesting. So then it's just a lot more efficient and fast acting, like we were talking about earlier, versus other maybe supplements where it doesn't break down because either you don't have the correct thing in your stomach to break down whatever it is that you need, and you don't have it in your system long enough for it to break it down completely. So then you don't get all of the benefits of whatever supplement you're trying to take or ingest. Or
Here's a guy you and I are familiar with that has a company called First Form that would benefit greatly from this.
Yeah.
I don't know if he listens to your podcast, but
that makes sense. So
yeah,
no,
he has a cannabis business as well that would work for,
that is very true. Hopefully,
who my target audience is. That's my target audience.
Yeah. So then, would it work for things like protein powders, or is that something that's different because it's a dry?
Yeah, it would work as a carrier.
Okay.
And this you mentioned dry. So this tech is a liquid, but you can actually dry it and powderize it, or you can dry it some and make it into a gel, things of that nature. I haven't played much with that, or, we as a company haven't played much with that, because most people then take it like your protein powder. You take your protein powder and what do you do with it? You don't just take a scoop of protein powder and, choke it down. You mix it in with the liquid.
Yep.
So rather than take it and start in one side and you have a liquid and then go through processes to make it a powder, to then turn around and go through processes to make it a liquid, we just kind of stay liquid the whole way.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, that
we do have that as a capability.
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's what other uses in terms of like supplements or those types of things? So like, even like, because I remember friends of mine taking like liquid creatine. So, but then therefore that probably wasn't as efficient as if they were utilizing your technology, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. So those types of examples are things that the process can definitely help with.
That's why we use the terminology active ingredients. It's because it can apply to like just about every active ingredient, whether it's, making something like turmeric more bioavailable, or making something like a B vitamin or cannabis or peppermint oil or any of those things.
Interesting. Huh. Okay. No, that makes so much more sense. I feel like the listeners have just learned an incredible amount in regards to this industry and this field. So again, if people wanted to talk with you more to see if it's a good fit, what are the best ways that they can reach out to you?
The best is through the website, which is, like you said, lixingredients.com. I don't know if I hand out my cell phone number over the people, but usually that's the most direct path is through there.
Okay.
You can email sales@lixingredients.com. That'll get down that path as well.
And then you're on LinkedIn as well, right?
Yep.
Of all the social medias, that's probably the best one to kind of reach you at.
Yeah, I'm not really on any other social media. The only one I'm on is Facebook, and to be honest with you, it's only because of the Arete Syndicate. I deleted my Facebook account, I think 3 or 4 years ago.
Smart man.
With the Arete Syndicate, I had to, in order to utilize that space, I had to suck it up. I hope Andy has something up his sleeve to get us out of there, but I had to suck it up and create a new Facebook account. So I have that, but I truly only use it for the RTA side.
No, that makes sense. Now, just pivoting a little bit, since you mentioned Arte, which is a mastermind group that we are both a part of and is so valuable in terms of just networking as well as talking with other entrepreneurs and getting ideas from one another. What are some other things that you feel like are helpful to run a successful business? You've been a great COO or operator of businesses. You've had a track record of success with that. What do you feel like is a critical step or something that people can utilize or incorporate to better operate any business, I guess?
Well, now you're asking me to be a business, business guru as well. Um, it's probably stealing something that Andy said, but I would, say it's getting outside of your comfort zone. Doing this podcast is outside of my comfort zone. I'm not a typical engineer, right? I do have some level of personality and stuff like that. Not to knock any engineers, but it's not my comfort zone, right? I like working with machines and equipment and solving problems and things of that nature. I get to do a lot of that with LIX, but I also have to put on a sales hat and put on a marketing hat and try to figure out how to generate business from that perspective, and look at things, with a level of design as opposed to just a level of utilitarianism. So it's just, like I said, I think the biggest thing is getting out of your comfort zones and stretching.
Yeah, no, that's such an important factor to grow in not only business, but in life, in anything that you're trying to improve upon. If you're only doing things that are comfortable, even in terms of getting in shape, if you're not challenging yourself, you're not growing physically, mentally, spiritually, and you just stay stagnant and or die. You never stay the same. You're either getting better or you're getting worse. And so getting outside of that comfort zone to expand yourself and your capacity to grow, I think that's such a great tip for our listeners to hear.
You mentioned getting out of your comfort zone on workouts and stuff. I have never been a runner.
Uh-huh.
I think much like Andy kind of says, but I've never been a runner. And I've been trying to trick my body into believing I am. And so, doing so, my body has been fighting me on it.
Yeah.
And, I started and had shin splints, and then I went, my knees were hurting for a while, and then one hip was hurting, and then the other hip was hurting. And one thing that has stuck with me through all of that is I use LIX. I basically put it on like lotion. Everything from like my waist down, I'm coating in LIX to, help overcome any of that inflammation and pain there. So, it's you do what you got to do. So, like I said, I run every day now.
That's incredible.
It's not my favorite thing, but that's what I'm doing.
Hey, that's incredible. And like we were saying, that's where growth happens, is on the other side of discomfort. And so kudos to you
for the other side of it, for sure.
So kudos to you for doing that. I really appreciate you making time to be a guest on the show and just share with our audience about what you're doing. And you guys have a technology that really can make a difference for people, whether it is through health and wellness or even recreation, just making everything safer because people are experiencing or getting the benefits of what they're ingesting versus not knowing fully what they are taking in or what ingredients they're getting, what dosages, things like that. So LIX definitely helps in terms of knowing what you're getting and making sure that that absorbs correctly into your body so you're getting the full benefits or rewards for what you're taking. And even as a topical solution, like Dan was mentioning, it'll absorb into the skin because of its size. It can penetrate even through your skin. And so many great applications that you can utilize. So if you're in any of those spaces and you're looking to improve your product to provide a better product for your clients, reach out to Dan. Once again, LIX Ingredients, LIX Ingredients with an S.com, or you can find Dan on LinkedIn. We'll have all of that information in the show notes below. But Dan, we can't thank you enough for your time and for being a guest on the show. I wish you continued success. And I can't wait to try out some of the products you're partnering up with. I'm pretty excited about that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. It's really
no, it's been great. It's been our pleasure. Hopefully the listeners found some value. And again, if you're in any of these industries or you just have any questions about how to get started and or partnering up with Dan and his company, again, reach out to them on their website. And if you found value in this, or you know somebody who is in the industry, or you know somebody who knows Andy, make sure you share this episode with them so that they can improve their products and their services as well. So once again, for Dan, I'm Young. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you found value in it, please leave a review, leave a comment. It always helps us in terms of bringing on guests of this quality and providing you with the information you want to hear. So thanks so much, everyone, and we'll see you next time on the Chicago Business Review.